Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Welcome to our channel. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Today we are working on a curved staircase, something pretty unique in our industry. I don't see it a lot, so we'd like to bring you along and kind of give you an update of what we've gotten done since the last time we did a build update, and then kind of explain to you what we're going to be doing today. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, okay? The last time you were here, we had a bunch of temporary supports up. We basically had our staircase kind of roughed in, but we didn't have any of the posts and beams installed. So since then, we poured the concrete, which I think you saw, and then we installed some Simpson post brackets. We installed 4x4 posts that went all the way from the footing through the staircase and up above into a 42-inch high post that's above grade. So we did that in 6 locations. These posts not only support the railing, but they support the staircase. And then we framed in 4x6 beams in between the posts, and we'll go underneath and show you that, so that it had support for all the stairs. Then we screwed it all together. And then after that, we added some skirt support for some vertical skirting that we are just wrapping up as far as the install. We still have to Cortex it, and we still have the back to do, but the back of the staircase is open. So let's go take a look and I'll explain to you what's going on under there. All right, so here's the inside of the staircase, and you can see the 4x4 posts. They're sitting on top of a footing, and they have an elevated post bracket that lets the post sit 1 inch above grade. So when it rains, the water's not sucking up into the bottom of the post. Once those posts were placed, they were framed into these existing stair boxes that we built. And then we had to create support for each point of the stairs. One stair is stacked on top of another one, but there's a load point that sits right on top of the beam. So that was a bunch of funky cuts. We had to do a lot of compound miters. I started with using a 2x4 as a template to figure out my compound miters and lengths, and then I traced that, and then I used those markings to create the 4x6s. Then we brought those over and snuck them in, banged them all in, and then we put some Simpson bracketry on, some steel, we screwed it together with timber locks and construction screws. But then we also added a safety bracket on each connection, so that in case there's a seismic event or anything like that, we get a lot of earthquakes where we live. So from there, I added a couple additional supports. We added some PVC side rails every 2 feet. You can see these screws. Now these screws are obviously poking through. You're never going to see any of this because this is all going to be blocked off. We're not going to create a storage space for it. It's going to get wet down here, so we're just going to close it off. I could have used shorter screws, but I didn't have any stainless steel Cortex screws that were shorter that wouldn't poke through. So in the past, we've either grind these off if it's a finished area underneath, or we try to use shorter screws, but in this instance we didn't. That's why you can see all the screws. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. It's really solid. The very bottom, if I kick it, you can see it move a little bit. Okay? But that takes a lot of force. Now, if I was concerned about that, and I still might do it, I just might drive a concrete stake just in this one section down and put a screw in it, and that would keep it from moving around. So I might do that on just this side and this side over here, just to keep it from being too flexible. It is an expensive way to skirt a deck, but it's one of the few options we have when you're going all the way from 8 feet or 8+ feet down to 6 inches. So, and also to be able to make it on a curve is a challenge as well. So to be able to do a curved rail set so that you could attach something to it and keep them all perpendicular with the upper staircase is pretty cool. Or plumb, or whatever the correct verbiage is there. So we're within tolerance. You know, there might be a degree or two out here and there, because it is really hard to create exactly level on a curve with 4 different rails, but we're close. So it's really about tensioning the rails before you screw them in, and pushing and pulling on them can make the curve change a little bit when you're installing these side rails. So it's something that we've just kind of figured out. Nobody's shown us how to do this, or nobody taught us how to do it. It's just something we figured out over the years. So there you go on that. I think that's about it. We're kind of caught up on our build. So now that the skirting is done, we're not going to concern ourselves with the back of this area yet, because we are eventually going to enclose it, but this gives us room to get in here to get our lighting done once we get our treads on and all that. But the next step in our staircase is actually creating the side fascia so that we know what to make our stair treads to. So probably the rest of today is going to be just figuring out these two pieces of side fascia on each side of the deck. And I'm not sure, I might try to cold bend them in place, but that could prove to be very difficult. So more than likely, I'm going to have to heat them up with some silicone heating blankets to make the boards a little bit more flexible so that I can push them into the shape I want before attaching them. Not only is that tricky, but then we also have to do it so that I can cut it and let it fit up properly against the deck, the existing deck that's already built, plus create a return at the very bottom of the staircase at the proper length with the proper angles. On a curved staircase, the inside curve is steeper than the outside curve. So nothing is similar. Everything has to be a different length, a different shape, a different cut, a different angle. So it just is what it is, but we'll get to it. So follow along and see how we do. The outside angle of our staircase is 26 degrees, and I'm not sure what the inside one is. It's going to be steeper than that, probably closer to 32 or something like that. But I measured and it's over 20 feet. So our materials that we're using can only come up to 20 feet long. So I'm gonna have to put a butt splice in this section of fascia, which I'm gonna do it down lower on the staircase versus up high, so that I can figure out a couple other things that I need to figure out while I'm working on that. So the inside of the staircase is only 15.6. So it's about 15'6" from top to bottom. Over here, we're about 22 feet from top to bottom. So it's a lot longer because each stair flares at the far side of the stair, on the outside of the staircase. That's how we made it a curve. Okay, so the inside of the tread's at 11 inches, the outside of the tread's at 16.5. That's why we have to make this piece longer, because all of the stair treads are longer on this side. So what I gotta do, this side of the staircase is 33 degrees. The other side was 26. So now I gotta set up a fascia piece at 33 degrees, and then I have to bend it into the shape I want it, clamp it to these posts, and then I have to mark my bottom, because I need my bottom to match what I did over here on this other side of the staircase. It'll be different angles, but it'll look the same. So when I trim it out, everything looks pretty good. So I have to project 2 inches past the edge of the staircase to get my length. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting a piece. I'm kind of taking a risk, but I'm cutting a piece and I'm leaving it about 8 inches long so that I can dig a little bit of a hole and get this thing exactly the way I want it, at the right height, all clamped in, looking good. And then I'll make my marks, and then I have to commit to those marks, and then I have to make another piece at an angle so that it makes my return, so I don't have any exposed end grains when I put this piece on. And I have one shot at doing that correctly. So the best way that I figured it to do, instead of trying to make a measurement, which never works out, I physically put the piece in place and push it into, or pull it, depending on what I'm doing, into the shape of the curve. And then I'll cut it, and then I'll mark it and all that. And then I'll put it back in here, make sure I'm happy with the way it fits before I put any fasteners in it. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. So thanks for watching. You can see that we're well on our way to getting our curved fascia installed. Then we can start getting some stair treads installed, which I'm looking forward to doing. So come back and check in with us and see how we do on our next video. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, hit that bell icon to be notified when we're putting out new content. Don't forget to comment on this video and like them as well. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.